After 40 years of fixing everything for his neighbors, Walter discovers his toolbox cannot repair the one thing that matters most: his own broken heart. 5:30 in the morning. Same as every day for the past 6 months. The alarm clock Martha bought me for our 35th anniversary still rings with that shrill metallic sound that used to wake both of us. Now it just wakes me. I reach across the bed to turn it off, my hand brushing the empty space where she used to sleep. The sheets are cold, perfectly smooth. Nobody's been on that side of the bed since the funeral. I swing my legs over the edge and sit there for a moment, joints creaking like old floorboards. 73 years old, Martha used to say I moved like a rusty gate in the morning, but by noon I would be good as new. She isn't here to say it anymore. The bathroom ritual comes next. Shave with the same razor I have used for 20 years. Brush my teeth, splash cold water on my face. The man in the mirror looks tired. Gray stubble I missed yesterday. Eyes that used to be bright blue now faded like old denim. When did I get so old? When did my face become my father's face? Downstairs to the kitchen, coffee first. Always coffee first. The Mr. Coffee machine Martha insisted we needed sits on the counter, but I used the old percolator instead. It makes that bubbling sound, she said. Reminded her of her grandmother's kitchen. Funny how the sound comforts me now when it used to annoy her. I set out 2 mugs, same as always. Blue one for me, the yellow one with sunflowers for her. Then I remember, catch myself. Put the yellow mug back in the cabinet. This happens every morning. My hands know the routine better than my brain does. Toast pops up. I butter it carefully, cutting it diagonally the way she liked. Force of habit. Everything's force of habit now. Scrambled eggs, orange juice, vitamin pills arranged in a neat row. The kitchen table seats 4. But I sit in the same chair I have sat in for 38 years, facing the window that looks out on Elm Street. Mrs. Patterson from across the street is already up, walking that little yapping dog of hers. She waves when she sees me in the window. I wave back. We haven't spoken since the funeral, but we wave every morning. It is something. The newspaper lands on the front porch with a thud. I retrieve it in my bathrobe and slippers, noting that young Johnson's lawn needs cutting again. His father would never have let the grass get that high, but his father's been dead 3 years now, and young Johnson works all the time, never home except to sleep. Back inside, I spread the paper across the kitchen table. Local news first, then sports, then the obituaries. More names I recognize every week. Frank Coslow worked at the plant with me for 15 years. Helen Morrison used to run the church bake sales. People my age dropping away one by one, like leaves in October. I finish breakfast and wash my single plate, single mug, single fork. The dishwasher sits empty. Martha always said it didn't make sense to run it for one person's dishes. She was right about most things. The workshop calls to me. It is in the basement, where I have spent most mornings since retirement. Pegboard walls lined with tools, each one hanging in its designated spot. Screwdrivers arranged by size, wrenches in order, levels and squares and measuring devices all in their places. Organization was something I learned in the Navy, something that stuck. On the workbench sits Mr. Chen's broken fence gate. He brought it over last Tuesday, apologizing for bothering me but saying his wife insisted I was the only one in the neighborhood who could fix anything. The hinges are rusted through. The wood split along the grain. Should take an hour, maybe 2. I select the tools I need, lay them out in order of use. This is meditation for me. Working with my hands, solving problems that have clear solutions. Broken things can be fixed. Bent things can be straightened. Worn things can be replaced. If only everything in life were so simple, the work goes smoothly. Sand the rust off the hinges, oil the moving parts, glue and clamp the split wood. While the glue dries, I start on Mrs. Kowalski's broken lamp. She is 86, lives alone since her husband passed. Cannot afford to hire someone, she said. But she baked me an apple pie for payment. The lamp just needs a new cord and plug 20-minute job. This is what I do now. Fix things for neighbors. Word got around after I helped old Pete with his lawnmower last spring. Now I get a steady stream of broken toasters, squeaky doors, wobbly tables, leaky faucets. People drop things off, pick them up when they are ready. Sometimes they pay me, sometimes they don't. I don't need the money. I need the purpose. Martha used to tease me about my workshop. Say I spent more time down there than upstairs with her. Maybe she was right. Maybe if I had spent less time fixing other people's problems and more time paying attention to my wife, things would have been different. Maybe I would have noticed the signs earlier. Maybe we would have caught the cancer before it spread. The phone rings upstairs. I climb the basement steps, knees protesting each one. By the time I reach the kitchen, the answering machine has picked up. My own voice, recorded 6 months ago, asking callers to leave a message. I keep meaning to change it, to record a new message that doesn't include Martha's name, but I haven't yet. Walter, this is your son David calling from Portland. Just checking in. Give me a call when you get a chance. Hope you are doing well. David calls every 2 weeks. Same day, same time, Tuesday mornings at 10:15 Pacific time. He is dutiful about it. I will give him that. But the conversations are stilted, full of awkward pauses. He asks about my health. I tell him I am fine. He tells me about his job, his wife Sarah, their plans for the weekend. I listen and make appropriate responses. Neither of us mentions the fact that he hasn't visited since the funeral, that he is too busy with his own life to spend time with his old man. I don't call him back right away. I will do it this evening, when I have worked up the energy for small talk. The morning slides into afternoon. I finish Mrs. Kowalski's lamp. Start on a wooden step stool that belongs to the Martinez family. Their youngest daughter carved her name into the side with what looks like a kitchen knife. I can sand it out, restain the whole thing, make it good as new. Lunch is a sandwich and soup, eaten standing at the kitchen counter while reading the sports page. The Orioles lost again. They haven't been the same since Cal Ripken retired. Nothing's been the same since then. Really, the world keeps changing, getting faster and louder and more complicated. While I stay the same, the afternoon mail brings bills, advertisements, and a handwritten letter from my neighbor 3 houses down. Mrs. Chen again, asking if I could look at their back steps. They are starting to sag, she says. And her husband is afraid they will collapse. She will pay me whatever I think is fair. I walk over to take a look. The Chens have lived here almost as long as Martha and I did. Their kids went to school with David. Now their kids have kids of their own, scattered across the country like seeds in the wind. Mr. Chen works part-time at the hardware store, but he is no handyman. Never was. The steps need more than repair. The support beam underneath has rotted through. I will need to replace the whole structure, which means tearing out the old one first. It is a big job, probably a full weekend's work, but I don't have anywhere else to be. I can start Saturday morning. I tell Mrs. Chen when she comes out to see what I think. "Oh, Walter, you are a godsend," she says, patting my arm. "What would we do without you?" It is a throwaway comment, the kind people make without thinking. But it sticks with me as I walk home. What would they do without me? Find someone else, I suppose. Hire a contractor, figure it out somehow. People always do. But what would I do without them? Without the broken gates and squeaky hinges and wobbly tables that give my day's structure. Without the excuse to leave the house, to talk to other human beings, to feel useful. The thought follows me into the evening. Dinner is leftover pot roast, reheated in the microwave. I eat it in front of the television, watching the news, wars and politics and celebrities I don't recognize. The world spinning on without me. I call David back at 8 of the clock. 7, his time. Sarah answers, cheerful and warm as always. She is a good woman, maybe too good for my son. She asks about my health, my activities, whether I am getting out enough. I tell her about the Chen steps, about the various repairs I have been doing. She makes interested noises, but I can tell she is multitasking, probably making dinner or helping their kids with homework. David takes the phone eventually. We talk for 10 minutes about nothing important. He mentions that Sarah's been suggesting I visit them for Christmas, that their guest room is always available. I make non-committal sounds. The thought of traveling cross-country, of being a house guest in my son's busy life, exhausts me. After we hang up, I sit in my recliner and think about Christmas. Martha loved Christmas. She would start decorating the day after Thanksgiving, transforming our house into something magical. David would bring his family east, and we would have a full house for a week. Chaos and laughter and children running around. Martha in her element. This past Christmas was the first without her. David called and suggested I join them in Portland, but I wasn't ready. Couldn't imagine celebrating anything. Instead, I spent the day alone, watching movies and eating Chinese takeout. It was peaceful, but empty, like everything else now. I go to bed at 9:30, same as always. Read for a while a biography of Harry Truman that has been sitting on my nightstand for months. Truman was a man who knew how to make hard decisions, how to do what needed doing even when it wasn't popular. I admire that. Martha used to say I was too careful, too worried about what other people thought. Maybe she was right about that too. The house settles around me as I turn off the light. Familiar creaks and sighs, the sound of wood and metal contracting in the cool night air. This house has been my world for nearly 4 decades. Every room holds memories. The kitchen where Martha taught David to make pancakes. The living room where we watched him take his first steps. The bedroom where we whispered plans and dreams and fears. Now it is just a house. Too big for one person, too quiet, too full of ghosts. But it is mine, and I don't know where else I would go. Sleep comes eventually, fitful and thin. I dream about Martha sometimes, but not tonight. Tonight, I dream about work, about problems that cannot be solved with tools and patience and skill. I wake at 3 in the morning with the taste of failure in my mouth, and lie awake until the alarm goes off at 30 Wednesday morning. Same routine, coffee, toast, newspaper, workshop, but something feels different today. Off-kilter, like a picture hanging crooked on the wall. I cannot put my finger on what it is. I am working on the Martinez step stool when I hear voices outside. Through the basement window, I can see 2 women standing in my driveway. One is Mrs. Patterson from across the street. The other I don't recognize, younger, maybe 50, with short gray hair and a kind face. I climb the stairs to see what they want. Mrs. Patterson knocks just as I reach the front door. "Morning, Walter," she says when I open it. This is my daughter, Linda. She is visiting from Baltimore. Linda steps forward with a warm smile. "Mr. Wallace, Mom's told me so much about you. How you have been helping everyone in the neighborhood with repairs." "It is no trouble," I say, wondering where this is going. "Actually," Linda continues, "I work for a nonprofit organization that matches skilled volunteers with people who need help. Senior Corps, it is called. We are always looking for people like you, experienced, reliable, willing to lend a hand." She pulls a brochure from her purse, hands it to me. "I thought you might be interested. It is more structured than what you are doing now, but the work is similar. Helping seniors and disabled folks with home repairs they cannot afford to hire out." I glance at the brochure, smiling faces, testimonials, program descriptions. It looks official, legitimate. "I appreciate the thought," I say, "but I have got plenty to keep me busy right here." "Of course," Linda says. "But if you ever change your mind, my contact information is in there. We do background checks, provide some training, match volunteers with appropriate projects. It might be nice to expand your reach a little after they leave." I sit at the kitchen table and read through the brochure. The organization serves a 3-county area, coordinates with local agencies, provides liability insurance for volunteers. It is professional, well-organized. The kind of thing Martha would have encouraged me to try, but it would mean dealing with strangers, following someone else's schedule, answering to supervisors. The work I do now is on my own terms, for people I know. It is simple, uncomplicated. Why change that? I put the brochure aside and return to the basement. The step stool is coming along nicely. The carved name is almost gone, sanded away. Soon it will look like new again. Thursday brings unexpected visitors. I am replacing a broken window pane in my kitchen when a car pulls into the driveway. David gets out, followed by Sarah and their 2 kids, Emma, who is 16 now, and Michael, 12. My heart jumps. They didn't tell me they were coming. "Surprise, Dad," David says when I open the front door. He looks tired, older than his 45 years. The tech industry ages people fast, he has told me. Long hours, constant pressure, younger competitors nipping at his heels. "We were in D.C. for Sarah's conference," Sarah explains, hugging me carefully. "Thought we would drive down for the day. See how you are doing." The kids are polite but distant. Emma checks her phone constantly. Michael seems more interested in my tools than in conversation. They have grown since Christmas, become more like strangers. That is what happens when you only see family twice a year. I make coffee while Sarah examines the kitchen, noting changes since their last visit. "The place looks good, Walter," she says. "You are taking care of yourself." "I am fine," I tell her. It is my standard response to everything. David wanders into the living room, picks up the senior corps brochure from the coffee table. "What is this?" I explain about Mrs. Patterson's daughter, the volunteer organization. David reads through it, nodding. "This looks interesting, Dad. Might be good for you to get more involved with people." "I am plenty involved," I say. "I help the neighbors all the time." "I know, but this is different. More structured. You would be part of something bigger." There it is again, the suggestion that what I am doing isn't enough. That I need to change. To do more. To be different. David means well, but he doesn't understand. He lives in a world of constant connection, constant activity. He cannot comprehend the peace of simple work, the satisfaction of fixing one thing at a time. They stay for lunch. Sarah makes sandwiches while I show Michael my workshop. He is genuinely interested in the tools. Asks good questions about how things work. For a few minutes, I see a glimpse of his father at that age, curious, eager to learn. Then his attention wanders, and the moment passes. Emma barely speaks during lunch. She is at that age where adults are irrelevant, where the real world exists only on her phone. I remember David going through the same phase. Martha handled it better than I did. She had patience for the moods and silences of teenagers. They leave in the mid-afternoon, promising to stay in better touch. David hugs me goodbye, and for a second, he is 8 years old again. Small arms around my neck, not wanting me to leave for work. Then he is gone, driving back to his real life, his important job, his busy family. The house feels emptier after they leave, not just quiet empty. The silence has weight now, pressing down on my shoulders. I try to return to work, but my hands shake as I pick up the tools. The step stool sits unfinished on the workbench, mocking me. I climb the stairs to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of coffee, and sit at the table. The senior corps brochure lies where David left it, open to a page of testimonials. One catches my eye. I was lost after my wife died. Didn't know what to do with myself. This program gave me purpose again, showed me I still had something to offer. Now I help other people every day, and they help me too. We are like a family. The words blur as I read them. A family. When did I stop being part of a family? When Martha died? When David moved away? Or was it earlier than that when I chose the workshop over the living room? Tools over conversation. Fixing things over fixing relationships. I fold the brochure and put it in the kitchen drawer next to the phone book and take out menus. Maybe someday. Not today, but someday. Friday morning starts like all the others, but I cannot shake the restlessness that settled over me yesterday. The routine feels hollow, meaningless. Coffee, toast, newspaper, but why? What is the point of getting up? Of going through the motions? If this is all there is, in the workshop, I stare at the half-finished step stool and cannot remember why I was fixing it. What difference does it make? The Martinez family has other step stools. They can buy a new one if they need to. They don't need me. The phone rings. I let the machine pick up. Mrs. Chen's voice. Apologetic but hopeful. "Walter, I hate to bother you, but I was wondering about those steps. Mr. Chen tried to fix them himself yesterday and made it worse. I am afraid." Could you take a look when you have time? I should call her back. Tell her I will be over this afternoon. Instead, I sit on my workbench stool and stare at the pegboard wall. 40 years of collecting tools, organizing them, maintaining them. For what? To fix neighbors' step stools and broken lamps. To fill the empty hours between waking and sleeping. Martha would know what to say. She always knew how to snap me out of these moods, how to remind me of what mattered. You are being dramatic, Walter, she would say. People need help, and you know how to help them. That is not nothing. That is something. But Martha isn't here to say it, and without her voice to guide me, I feel lost. Not just sad lost, like a ship without a compass, drifting in waters I don't recognize. I force myself to work. Finish the step stool, test the joints, apply the final coat of stain. It is good work, solid and clean. The Martinez girl will be pleased. Her name is gone, but the stool is stronger than before. Lunch is a mechanical process. Sandwich, chips, apple juice. I eat without tasting, looking out the kitchen window at Elm Street. Mrs. Patterson walks her dog. The mailman makes his rounds. Life goes on, indifferent to my presence or absence. The afternoon stretches ahead like a desert. I could go to the Chen's house, look at their steps. I could call David, though we just talked 2 days ago. I could take a nap, read my book, watch television, all equally meaningless choices. Instead, I do something I haven't done in months. I walk. Not to any particular destination. Just out the front door and down the street. Past the Chen's house with its sagging steps. Past the corner where David used to wait for the school bus. Past the park where Martha and I used to take evening strolls when our joints were younger and the world seemed more hopeful. The neighborhood has changed over the years. New families moved in. Old ones moved away. Children grew up and left. Houses were painted different colors. Yards landscaped in modern styles. But the bones of the place remain the same tree-lined streets, sidewalks cracked by root systems. The comfortable sprawl of suburbia. I walk for an hour, maybe more. When I return home, my legs ache and my breathing is labored. But my mind feels clearer. The restlessness has eased, replaced by something resembling calm. In the kitchen, I retrieve the senior corps brochure from the drawer. Linda Patterson's card is stapled to the back cover, along with a phone number and email address. The office is open until 5 on weekdays. I pick up the phone, then put it down. Pick it up again. What would I say? That I am interested? That I need something to do with my life? That I am tired of being alone with my tools and my memories? The dial tone hums in my ear. I hang up and put the brochure back in the drawer. Not today, maybe tomorrow, maybe never. But the seed of an idea has been planted. For the first time in months, I am thinking about something other than the next repair, the next small task to fill the hours. I am thinking about possibilities. Saturday morning, the phone wakes me at 7:30. It is Mrs. Chen, calling to ask about the steps again. Her voice is strained with worry. Mr. Chen fell yesterday trying to fix them, she explains. He is okay, just bruised his hip. But I am scared someone's going to get seriously hurt. The insurance man says if we don't fix them soon, they might cancel our policy. I will be right over, I tell her. 20 minutes later, I am standing in the Chen's backyard, examining the damaged steps. Mr. Chen's amateur repair attempt has made things worse. The support beam is completely broken now, and the steps themselves are tilted at a dangerous angle. It is a lawsuit waiting to happen. This is a big job, I tell Mrs. Chen. I will need to tear out everything and start fresh. Take me most of the weekend, maybe longer. Whatever it costs, she says. We will pay whatever you think is fair. I start with demolition, pulling apart the broken structure piece by piece. It is satisfying work, reducing the problem to its basic components. By noon, I have cleared away all the old lumber and can see what I am working with. The foundation is solid. That is good. I can build new steps on the existing concrete pad, but I will need lumber, hardware, concrete mix for the footings. A trip to the hardware store, Mr. Chen insists on coming with me. Despite his wife's protests about his injured hip, At the store, he pushes the cart while I select materials. 2x8s for the frame, composite decking for the treads, galvanized bolts and brackets. Everything we need to build steps that will last another 20 years. You know, Walter, Mr. Chen says as we load the lumber into my truck. I don't know what this neighborhood would do without you. You are always helping somebody. Just returning favors. I say. You folks looked after Martha when she was sick, brought us meals, checked on her when I was at work. That is what neighbors do. Not anymore, I say. These days, people barely know each other's names. Mr. Chen nods. Different world now. Everyone's too busy, too disconnected, but you keep the old ways alive. That matters. Back at his house, I spend the afternoon building the frame. Mrs. Chen brings me iced tea and sandwiches. Insists I take breaks even though I don't want to stop. The work feels good, feels necessary. Each measurement, each cut, each connection moves the project forward. Progress you can see and touch. By evening, the frame is complete. Tomorrow, I will install the treads and railings, add the finishing touches. The Chens will have safe, solid steps again. The insurance company will be satisfied. One more problem solved. Sunday morning. I am back early to finish the job. The work goes smoothly. Everything fits perfectly. Looks professional. By afternoon, the new steps are complete. I test them myself, bouncing on each tread, checking the railings for stability. Solid as a rock. Mrs. Chen cries when she sees the finished product. Oh, Walter, they are beautiful. Better than new. She insists on paying me $200, though I protest it is too much. You saved us from hiring a contractor, she says. This would have cost 3 times as much. As I load my tools into the truck, Mr. Chen shakes my hand. You are a craftsman, Walter. They don't make men like you anymore. Driving home, I think about his words. Craftsman. It has been a long time since anyone called me that. In the Navy, I was a mechanic. At the factory, I was a maintenance supervisor. After retirement, I became just Walter, the old guy who fixes things. But craftsman, that word has weight, implies skill and pride and purpose. At home, I clean my tools and return them to their places on the pegboard. Each one has a story, a history of projects completed, problems solved. The circular saw I bought when David was 10 and wanted a treehouse. The router Martha convinced me to get when she decided we needed crown molding in the dining room. The level my father gave me when I bought this house, telling me a man wasn't complete without good tools. These tools are part of me, extensions of my hands and mind, but they are not enough anymore. The work is satisfying, but the isolation is killing me slowly. I need more than repairs and replacements. I need connection. Monday morning, I make the call. Senior Corps. This is Linda. This is Walter Wallace. We met last week at my house. You gave me information about volunteer opportunities, Mr. Wallace. I am so glad you called. Are you interested in joining our program? I think so. What would be the next step? Well, we would start with an interview, get to know your skills and interests. Then there is a background check, some basic training. The whole process takes about 2 weeks. Would you like to schedule an interview? Yes, I say, surprising myself with how decisive I sound. The sooner the better. We set an appointment for Wednesday afternoon. After I hang up, I sit in the kitchen and wonder what I have just committed to. Change has never come easily to me. Martha was the adventurous one, always ready to try new things, meet new people. I preferred the familiar, the predictable, the safe, but safety isn't enough anymore. Safety is just another word for standing still. And standing still is just another word for dying. Wednesday arrives gray and drizzly, typical November weather. I dress carefully: khakis, button-down shirt, sport coat. Professional but not stuffy. The Senior Corps office is in a converted house downtown, cheerful and informal. Linda greets me at the door with genuine warmth. Come in. Come in. Let me show you around. The tour reveals a busy, purposeful place. Volunteers of all ages working at computers. Coordinators matching requests with available help. A small workshop where basic repairs are demonstrated. Everyone seems focused but relaxed, like they enjoy being here. In Linda's office, we talk for an hour. She asks about my background, my skills, my availability. I tell her about the Navy, the factory, the neighborhood repairs. She takes notes, asks follow-up questions, seems genuinely interested in my answers. "You are exactly the kind of volunteer we need," she says. "Experienced, reliable, local. Most of our clients are seniors or disabled folks who cannot afford contractors. Simple repairs, accessibility modifications, basic maintenance, right up your alley. What is the time commitment? Whatever you are comfortable with. Some volunteers work 1 day a week, others do more. You set your own schedule, take on projects that interest you. The only requirement is reliability. If you commit to something, you have to follow through. I can do that. I know you can. Now, let me tell you about some of our current clients." She pulls out a folder, shows me photos and descriptions. An elderly woman whose bathroom door will not latch properly. A disabled veteran who needs grab bars installed in his shower. A widow whose front steps are falling apart. Problems I could solve easily. People I could help immediately. "When could I start?" I ask. "After the background check clears and you complete orientation. Probably next Monday. If everything goes smoothly driving home." I feel something I haven't felt in months: anticipation. Not just for tomorrow's routine, but for something genuinely new. New people, new challenges, new opportunities to be useful. It has been a long time since I looked forward to anything. The background check takes 3 days. Clean record, no surprises. The orientation session is held on Friday morning in the workshop I toured earlier. 6 new volunteers, ranging in age from 30 to 75. A retired nurse, a former teacher, an ex-construction worker, a grandmother whose kids are grown, a young man laid off from his tech job. We learn about safety procedures, liability issues, communication protocols. Nothing complicated, but important details. How to assess a job before starting, when to call for backup. How to interact with clients who might be proud, suspicious, or simply lonely. "Remember," says the instructor, a grizzled carpenter named Pete, "you are not just fixing their problems. Sometimes you are the only person they will talk to all week. Be patient. Be kind. Listen as much as you work." Monday morning, my first assignment. Margaret Olson, 82. Lives alone in a small house across town. Her bathroom door sticks, making it hard for her to get in and out safely. Simple job: plane the door. Maybe adjust the hinges. Mrs. Olson greets me at her front door with obvious relief. She is tiny, maybe 5 feet tall, with bright eyes and silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. The house is immaculate but shows signs of age-worn carpets, faded wallpaper, furniture from another era. "Oh, Mr. Wallace, thank you so much for coming. That door has been driving me crazy for months. My son keeps saying he will fix it, but he is so busy." I examine the door. Simple problem: the house has settled slightly, causing the frame to shift. 20 minutes with a hand plane and some sandpaper, and the door swings freely. "You are a miracle worker," Mrs. Olson says, opening and closing the door several times to test it. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," I tell her. "The program is free." Free, but surely covered by grants and donations. I am just a volunteer. She insists on making me coffee, refuses to take no for an answer. We sit in her kitchen while she tells me about her late husband, her 3 children scattered across the country, her concerns about maintaining the house as she gets older. "I know I should probably move to one of those senior places," she says, "but this house holds so many memories. 45 years we lived here, raised our kids here. I cannot imagine being anywhere else." I understand that feeling. Place matters. Roots matter. The familiar rhythms of a life well lived. Before I leave, Mrs. Olson shows me a list. She has been keeping small repairs and maintenance items she cannot handle herself. A leaky faucet, a loose handrail, a window that will not open. Nothing urgent, but things that make daily life more difficult. Would it be possible? She begins, then stops. I shouldn't ask for more. Ask away. Could you come back sometime? Fix a few more things? I would be happy to pay. I will check with Linda. See what we can arrange. Driving home, I think about Mrs. Olson's list. Her polite desperation. Her determination to stay in the house that defines her. There are thousands like her, I realize. People aging in place, struggling with small problems that seem insurmountable when you are dealing with them alone. That evening, I call Linda. About Mrs. Olson, I say. She has a whole list of things that need attention. Nothing major, but the kind of stuff that adds up. How much work are we talking about? Maybe 4 or 5 visits. I could space them out, do a little each time. That sounds perfect. She is on a fixed income, cannot afford professional help. You would be making a real difference in her quality of life. A real difference. When was the last time I made a real difference in anything? The neighborhood repairs are helpful, but they are favors between friends. This is something else, service to people who have no other options, who genuinely need help. Tuesday brings my second assignment. James Crawford, 78, Army veteran with mobility issues. He needs grab bars installed in his shower and near his toilet. His wife died last year, and he is determined to stay independent as long as possible. Mr. Crawford's house is small and tidy, decorated with military memorabilia and family photos. He greets me with a firm handshake and direct eye contact, old soldier habits that never fade. Appreciate you coming out, he says. I know I should be able to do this myself, but the arthritis makes it tough to hold tools steady. Installing grab bars requires precision. They have to be anchored into wall studs to support a person's full weight. I take careful measurements, use a stud finder to locate the framing, mark each mounting point with a pencil. Mr. Crawford watches every step, asks technical questions, nods approvingly at my methods. It is clear he knows his way around tools, understands good workmanship when he sees it. You do nice work, he says as I test the finished installation. Solid, professional. You military, Navy, 20 years. Shows military trains you to do things right the first time. We talk while I clean up my tools. He served in Vietnam, came home to work for the phone company, raised 2 daughters who live on the West Coast now. Like so many of our generation, he is navigating the challenges of aging without the support systems previous generations took for granted. The thing is, he says, I don't want to be a burden on my girls. They have got their own lives, their own problems. If I can stay here, take care of myself, that is what I want to do. These grab bars will help. More than you know. Yesterday I slipped getting out of the shower, caught myself on the towel rack. Could have been bad. As I drive home, I think about dignity. Both Mrs. Olson and Mr. Crawford are fighting the same battle, trying to maintain their independence, their sense of self-worth, their right to age on their own terms. The repairs I am doing aren't just about fixing broken things. They are about preserving dignity. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, more assignments, more clients, more small problems solved. A loose banister for an elderly couple afraid of falling on their stairs. A stuck window for a woman who hasn't had fresh air in her bedroom for months. A broken doorbell for a man who was missing visits from his home health aide. Each job is different, but the pattern is the same. People living alone, managing as best they can, grateful for any help. They offer coffee, show photos of grandchildren, share stories about better days. I listen while I work, nod at appropriate moments, ask questions that show I care. It is not just about the repairs anymore. Pete was right, sometimes I am the only person they will talk to all week. The work opens doors to connection, gives me permission to be present in lives that might otherwise be completely isolated. Friday evening, I am having dinner when the phone rings. It is Mrs. Olson. Mr. Wallace, I hope I am not bothering you at home. Not at all. What can I do for you? Well, it is not exactly a repair, but I was wondering, do you know anything about computers? I laugh. Not much. I am afraid. Why? My granddaughter gave me one of those tablet things for my birthday. Said I could use it to see pictures of the great-grandkids, talk to the family. But I cannot figure out how to work it. The instructions might as well be in Chinese. I am probably not the right person to help with that. Oh, well, thank you anyway. I just thought since you were so patient with my door, something in her voice makes me reconsider. Disappointment. Maybe even embarrassment. She took a chance asking for help, and I am turning her down. Tell you what, I say, I don't know much about tablets, but maybe we could figure it out together. No promises, but I could take a look. Really? Oh, that would be wonderful. Saturday afternoon. I am sitting in Mrs. Olson's living room, staring at a tablet computer that might as well be alien technology. But the instruction manual is clear enough. And between the two of us, we managed to get it connected to her wireless internet. The first video call with her granddaughter is a revelation. Suddenly, Mrs. Olson is talking to a young woman in California, seeing her kitchen, meeting the great-grandchildren she is only known through photographs. Tears stream down her face as she waves at a toddler who waves back from 3,000 miles away. This is a miracle, she whispers. It is like they are right here in the room. Driving home, I think about connection across distance. The way technology can shrink the world for people who thought they had been left behind. I didn't fix anything mechanical today, but I helped solve a different kind of problem. Loneliness is just another thing that needs repair. The weeks blur together. More assignments, more clients, more small victories. I am working 3 days a week now, sometimes 4. The physical demands are manageable. Most jobs require patience and skill rather than strength. And the emotional rewards are unexpected. Mrs. Patterson stops me on the street one morning to tell me how much the neighborhood has missed seeing me working in my yard, fixing the neighbors' problems. You seem different lately, she says. Happier. Maybe. More energetic. She is right. I am different. The aimless feeling that plagued me after Martha's death has been replaced by purpose. Not the grand purpose of youth. I am not changing the world or building empires. But the quiet purpose of being useful. Of making small differences in individual lives. The Senior Corps holiday party is held on a Saturday evening in December. All the volunteers gather in the converted house downtown, sharing food and stories, celebrating another year of service. I almost don't go parties. Aren't my strong suit, but Linda insists. You have become one of our most reliable volunteers. She says, people request you specifically now. That means something. The party is smaller than I expected, maybe 40 people total. Volunteers and staff, a few clients, some family members. The conversation is easy, centered on shared experiences and common values. These people understand service, understand the satisfaction of helping others. I find myself talking to Pete, the carpenter who led my orientation session. He has been with the program for 5 years, since his own retirement. Best thing I ever did, he says. Beats sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. You felt sorry for yourself. After my wife died? Yeah. Didn't know what to do with all the time. All the quiet, started drinking too much. Staying in bed too late. My kids were worried about me. What changed? Linda tracked me down, convinced me to try this. First client was a veteran, wheelchair-bound, needed a ramp built to his front door. Simple job. But when I finished it, he cried. Said he had been trapped in his house for 2 months. Couldn't get out to see his grandkids. That ramp gave him his life back. Must have felt good. Changed everything. Reminded me that I still had something to offer. That there were people who needed what I could do. Sounds corny, but it saved my life. I nod, understanding exactly what he means. We all need to be needed. It is not enough to exist, we have to matter. Have to contribute. Have to leave some small mark on the world. As the party winds down, Linda pulls me aside. I have a special request, she says. There is a client who specifically asked for you. Retired teacher, lives alone, has some accessibility issues we think you could help with. Interested? Of course. Her name is Ellen Murphy. She is, well, she is special. You will see what I mean. Monday morning. I drive to Ellen Murphy's address. It is a small house in an older part of town, neat but showing its age. The woman who answers the door is probably 75, with white hair and bright blue eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She moves carefully, using a walker, but her smile is warm and welcoming. You must be Walter. I am Ellen, please. Come in. The house is filled with books, floor-to-ceiling shelves in every room. Stacks on tables and counters. Boxes in corners. Not hoarding organization. A lifetime of collecting knowledge, preserving wisdom. I taught high school English for 40 years. Ellen explains, noticing my amazement. Never could bear to throw away a good book. My students used to say my classroom looked like a library exploded. She shows me the problem areas. Doorways too narrow for her walker. A bathroom where the shower is impossible to access safely. Kitchen cabinets too high to reach. Standard engine place issues, but complicated by the sheer volume of books everywhere. I know I should probably move, she says. My daughter keeps sending me brochures for assisted living places. But this house is my life's work. How do you abandon 40 years of collecting? I understand her dilemma. The books aren't just possessions, they are companions, memories, sources of comfort and knowledge. Asking her to abandon them would be like asking her to abandon herself. Let me think about this, I tell her. There might be solutions that don't require moving everything. That evening, I sketch possible modifications on graph paper, wider doorways by removing some built-in shelving. A shower seat and grab bars in the bathroom, pull-down shelving systems to make high cabinets accessible, nothing that would require major construction or massive book relocation. I present the plans to Ellen the next day. She studies them carefully, asks thoughtful questions, suggests modifications based on her daily routines. This could actually work, she says finally. You don't think I'm foolish for wanting to stay here? Not at all. Home is important. Roots are important. My daughter thinks I am being stubborn. Maybe you are. Sometimes stubborn is what it takes. The modifications take 2 weeks to complete. I work slowly, carefully, minimizing disruption to Ellen's book collection. She makes coffee every morning, sits nearby while I work, tells stories about her teaching years. The thing about teenagers, she says one day, is that they are desperate to be understood. They put up all these walls, act like they don't care about anything, but underneath they are scared and hopeful and eager to connect. You just have to be patient enough to see past the performance. I think about David at that age, sullen and uncommunicative, spending hours in his room with the door closed. I didn't have Ellen's patience then, didn't understand that the withdrawal was temporary, that underneath, he was still the little boy who wanted his father's approval. I wasn't very good at patience when my son was that age. I admit, none of us were. That is why they forgive us later. They realize how hard the job really is. On the final day, I install the last grab bar and test all the modifications. Everything works perfectly. Ellen can navigate her house safely now, access her books, maintain her independence. I don't know how to thank you, she says, tears in her eyes. You have given me my life back, just doing my job. No, it is more than that. You listened. You understood what mattered to me. Not everyone would have. Driving home, I think about understanding, about really seeing people instead of just their problems. Ellen needed more than accessibility modifications. She needed someone to validate her choice to stay connected to the life she had built. The repairs were just the means to that end. Christmas approaches. My second without Martha. David calls to renew his invitation to Portland. But I decline again. Not because I am afraid of traveling or being around family, but because I have commitments here. Mrs. Olson is having her children visit and wants to show them the tablet we set up. Mr. Crawford has asked me to help him rearrange his furniture to accommodate his new mobility equipment. 3 other clients have projects scheduled for the week after Christmas. I understand, Dad, David says. And for once, he sounds like he really does. You have found something important there. Mom would be proud. Martha would be proud. Not just of the work, but of the way I have chosen to rebuild my life around service rather than self-pity. She always said I was at my best when I was helping people. That isolation brought out the worst in me. Christmas Day, I volunteer at a community dinner for seniors who have nowhere else to go. Nothing dramatic, just serving food, clearing tables, listening to stories. But the organizer tells me it is their busiest year ever. that loneliness is becoming an epidemic among older adults. People like you make the difference, she says. Not just the work you do, but the fact that you show up, that you care enough to be here. New Year's Eve, I am home alone but not lonely. The house is quiet, but it is a peaceful quiet now, not the oppressive silence of months past. I have plans for tomorrow: Mrs. Olson's leaky faucet, a new client who needs a wheelchair ramp, a consultation with Ellen about expanding her pull-down shelving system. At midnight, I raise a glass of wine to Martha's photograph on the mantelpiece. I think I am going to be okay, I tell her. It took a while, but I figured it out. The clock strikes 12, marking another year, another beginning. Outside, neighbors set off fireworks, celebrating the possibilities ahead. Inside, I sit with my dog-eared senior core folder, reviewing next week's assignments, thinking about problems to solve and people to help. This is my life now. Not the life I planned, not the retirement I imagined, but something real and meaningful and mine. I fix things. I help people. I matter. And for the first time since Martha died, that feels like enough. The months that follow bring a rhythm I never expected to find again. Spring arrives early, and with it, a surge of new requests through Senior Corps. My reputation has spread beyond the official channels now. People recommend me to friends. Family members call asking if I can help their elderly relatives. I am busier than I have been since retirement. But it is a good, busy, purposeful busy. Mrs. Olson's bathroom gets a complete makeover when I discover the subflooring has water damage from years of small leaks. What starts as a simple faucet repair becomes a week-long project, stripping everything down to the studs and rebuilding from scratch. She is delighted with the result: a shower she can actually use safely, storage she can reach, lighting bright enough to read by. You know, she says as I am packing up my tools, I have been thinking about what you said about stubborn being what it takes. My daughter called yesterday, said she is proud of me for staying independent. First time she has said that instead of trying to talk me into moving. Ellen Murphy becomes a regular client, but also something more: a friend. We share coffee every Tuesday morning, talking about books, politics, the state of the world. She is sharp as ever, still reading voraciously, still forming opinions that challenge my assumptions. When she mentions wanting to volunteer herself, I suggest she contact the literacy program at the library. I may not be able to stand for long periods, she says, but I can still help people learn to read. Within a month, she is tutoring adults twice a week, using the accessible workspace we created in her living room. Her students come to her house, surrounded by her books, learning in an environment that radiates respect for knowledge and learning. Mr. Crawford's situation becomes more complicated when he suffers a mild stroke in February. His daughters fly in from California, full of plans to move him to assisted living, but he is not ready to give up, and neither am I together. We develop a comprehensive safety plan for his house: more grab bars, a medical alert system, weekly check-ins with neighbors. I spend 3 days making his house stroke recovery friendly, installing lever handles on all the doors, adding ramps where there used to be steps, reorganizing his kitchen so everything essential is within easy reach. His daughters are skeptical at first, but when they see how thoroughly we have addressed the safety issues, they agree to give it a trial period. 6 months, the older daughter says. If he can manage for 6 months without any major incidents, we will revisit the conversation. It has been 4 months now, and Mr. Crawford is not just managing, he is thriving. The physical therapy has restored most of his mobility, and the modifications we made have given him confidence to move freely in his own space. He has even started cooking again, something he hadn't done since his wife died. You saved my independence, he tells me during one of my regular check-ins. My girls don't understand it, but a man needs to feel useful, needs to feel like he is still the captain of his own ship. The work expands beyond simple repairs. Linda starts sending me to consultations where families are trying to decide whether aging in place is feasible. I walk through houses with adult children, pointing out potential modifications, explaining what is possible and what isn't. Sometimes the conclusion is that a move is necessary, but often we find solutions that allow people to stay in their familiar environments. One consultation breaks my heart. The client is a woman about Martha's age when she died, living alone in a house that is falling down around her. The roof leaks. The electrical system is dangerous. The plumbing barely functions. Her son wants her to move, but she cannot afford the repairs and refuses to leave. My husband built this house with his own hands. She tells me, tears streaming down her face. We raised 6 children here. How can I abandon it now? I spend 2 days writing up a detailed assessment, prioritizing the most critical safety issues, estimating costs for basic repairs. The son calls me afterward, angry and frustrated. $30,000. We don't have that kind of money. And even if we did, she will be dead in 5 years. What is the point? The point, I tell him, is that it is her choice. Your mother has the right to decide where she wants to spend her final years. It is not practical. Practical isn't the only consideration. We find a compromise. I volunteer to do the electrical work myself, saving thousands in labor costs. The son agrees to pay for materials and hire professionals for the roof and plumbing. It is not perfect, but it is workable. The woman gets to stay in her house, and the family gets peace of mind about safety. These complex cases challenge me in ways simple repairs never did. I am not just fixing broken things anymore. I am helping people navigate the complicated emotions around aging, independence, and family relationships. Sometimes I feel unqualified for the role, but then I remember that experience matters too. I have walked this path, made these decisions, learned these lessons. The 1-year anniversary of Martha's death arrives in April, and I mark it differently than I expected. Instead of spending the day alone with my grief, I volunteer at a senior corps appreciation dinner. 50 volunteers gather to share stories, celebrate successes, and welcome new recruits. I am asked to speak about my experience, something I normally would have declined, but standing in front of the group, looking at faces that represent thousands of hours of service, I find words I didn't know I had. A year ago, I begin. I thought my useful life was over. My wife was gone. My son was across the country. My neighbors were polite but distant. I fixed things because I didn't know what else to do with my time. I pause, collecting my thoughts, feeling the weight of attention from people who understand the territory I am describing. But this program taught me something I had forgotten. The work itself isn't what matters, it is the connection. When you help someone solve a problem, they cannot solve themselves. You are not just fixing a broken doorknob or installing a grab bar. You are saying, you matter. Your independence matters. Your dignity matters. The room is quiet, focused. These people know what I am talking about. I have learned that loneliness isn't just about being alone. It is about feeling unnecessary, feeling like the world can get along fine without you. The antidote isn't being around people, it is being useful to people. It is knowing that your skills, your experience, your presence makes a difference in someone's life. Afterward, several people approach me with their own stories. A retired nurse who found purpose helping elderly patients navigate the medical system. A former accountant who volunteers to help seniors with their taxes and finances. A widow who teaches basic computer skills to her peers. You put into words what I couldn't express. The nurse tells me about feeling unnecessary. That is exactly how I felt before I found this work. David visits again in May, this time alone. Sarah is at a conference. The kids are in school, and he has a few days between business meetings. He seems more relaxed without the family obligations, more willing to just sit and talk. You look good, Dad, he says as we eat lunch on the back porch. Different than last time. Different how? I don't know. More like yourself, I guess. More like I remember you being when I was young. We talk about his work, his marriage, his concerns about raising teenagers in an increasingly complicated world. For the first time in years, he asks for my advice instead of offering it. How did you and Mom handle it when I was being such a pain in high school? I think about Ellen Murphy's words about teenagers being desperate to be understood. We tried to remember that you were still our son underneath all the attitude. Your mother was better at that than I was. She could see past the performance to the scared kid underneath. I was scared, terrified. of disappointing us, of not measuring up, of not knowing who you were supposed to become. Most teenage rebellion is just fear wearing a disguise. David nods thoughtfully. Emma's going through some of that now, pushing boundaries, challenging everything we say. It is normal, painful, but normal. Any specific advice? Listen more than you talk. Ask questions instead of giving orders. And remember that this phase will not last forever, even though it feels like it will. On his last day, David insists on visiting one of my clients. I take him to Ellen Murphy's house, where she is tutoring a middle-aged man who never learned to read properly. David watches quietly, as she patiently works through a simple paragraph with her student, celebrating each correctly pronounced word, like it is a major victory. Afterward, Ellen shows David around her modified house, explaining how the accessibility features allow her to maintain her independence. Your father is an artist, she tells him. Not just with tools, but with understanding what people need. He sees solutions where others see only problems. Driving home, David is unusually quiet. That was remarkable, he finally says. Ellen's a special woman. I meant you. Seeing you with her, seeing how much respect she has for you. I have never seen you in that role before. What role? The wise elder. The problem solver. The guy people turn to when they need help. I realize that David is seeing me as an adult for the first time. Not just as his father, but as a person with value beyond our family relationship. It is a shift I didn't expect, but one that feels important. Summer brings new challenges. The senior core program is expanding, but funding is tight. Several volunteers have had to step back due to their own health issues, and the waiting list for services keeps growing. Linda calls a meeting to discuss how we can do more with less. We are going to have to get creative, she says. Find ways to leverage our existing volunteers, maybe train some of our clients to help each other. I suggest a buddy system pairing newer clients with those who have been successfully aging in place for years. Mrs. Olson could teach computer skills. Mr. Crawford could share strategies for managing with mobility limitations. Ellen could offer literacy support. Turn clients into resources, I explain. Everyone has something to offer, even if they need help themselves. The idea takes off. Within 2 months, we have a peer support network that reduces demand for volunteer services while building connections between isolated seniors. Mrs. Olson becomes our unofficial technology coordinator, helping a dozen neighbors set up tablets and video calling systems. Mr. Crawford leads a monthly discussion group for stroke survivors. My role evolves too. In addition to direct service, I am training new volunteers, consulting on complex cases, and developing maintenance protocols that help clients stay independent longer. It is more responsibility than I have had since my factory days, but it is responsibility I have chosen rather than inherited. The work isn't always rewarding. Some clients are difficult, demanding, ungrateful. Others have problems beyond what any volunteer can address: hoarding situations, untreated mental illness, family conflicts that have festered for decades. I learned to recognize my limitations, to ask for help when needed, to accept that not every situation has a solution, but the successes far outnumber the frustrations. Mrs. Peterson, who was afraid to leave her house after a fall, now walks to the corner store every day using the mobility aids we installed. Mr. Kim, whose language barriers made it hard to access services, has a volunteer translator who helps him navigate medical appointments. The Johnson family avoided an expensive nursing home placement by making strategic modifications to their grandmother's house. Each success story represents more than just problem solving. It is about preserving dignity, maintaining connections, honoring the right of older adults to make their own choices about how and where they want to live. The second anniversary of Martha's death passes quietly. I visit her grave in the morning, then spend the afternoon working on a wheelchair ramp for a veteran who lost his leg to diabetes. The contrast isn't lost on me: grief and purpose, endings and beginnings, all woven together into something that feels like healing. That evening, I find myself in our old bedroom, looking through photo albums I haven't touched since the funeral, pictures of our wedding, David's childhood, family vacations, Ordinary moments that seemed unremarkable at the time, but now feel precious. In one photo, Martha is standing in our kitchen, rolling out pie dough while talking on the phone. She is multitasking, as always. But her face is relaxed, content. This is how I want to remember her, not diminished by illness, but fully herself, engaged with life. I realize I am no longer avoiding these memories. They still hurt, but they don't paralyze me anymore. The pain has transformed from something that made me want to disappear into something that connects me to love, to gratitude, to the understanding that every relationship is temporary, but the impact can be permanent. Martha shaped who I am, but she didn't define my limits. I am more than half of a couple, more than David's father, more than a retired factory worker. I am a man who fixes things, who helps people, who has found a way to matter in the world. Fall arrives with news that changes everything. Linda calls to tell me that Senior Corps has received a major grant from a national foundation, enough to expand services significantly. Part of the expansion will include a training center where experienced volunteers can teach skills to newcomers. We want you to head up the program, she says. Develop curriculum, train instructors, oversee quality control. It would be a paid position, part-time but steady. I am stunned. At 74, I am being offered a job, real employment with purpose and structure, and the opportunity to multiply my impact exponentially. I need to think about it, I tell her. Of course. But Walter, you are the obvious choice. You have the skills, the experience, the respect of volunteers and clients alike. This could be your legacy. Legacy. The word stays with me as I consider the offer. What kind of legacy do I want to leave? David will inherit this house eventually, but houses are just buildings. The real inheritance is the example of how to live, how to find meaning in service, how to transform loss into purpose. I accept the position. The training center opens in January, housed in a renovated warehouse downtown. My office overlooks the workshop where new volunteers learn basic repair skills, and through the other window, I can see the conference room where we hold classes on client communication and safety protocols. My first group of trainees includes retirees from all walks of life: teachers, accountants, military veterans, homemakers whose children are grown. Some have extensive Hansen experience. Others have never held a power tool, but they all share the same motivation, the desire to be useful, to matter, to make a difference. The technical skills are important. I tell them during the first session, but they are not the most important thing. The most important thing is understanding that you are not just fixing problems, you are preserving dignity. Every repair you make, every modification you install, every hour you spend listening to a client's concerns is a statement that older adults deserve to live on their own terms. One trainee, a retired teacher named Patricia, raises her hand. What if we encounter a situation where staying in place isn't safe? How do we balance supporting someone's independence with protecting their well-being? It is a sophisticated question that gets to the heart of the work. You present options, I tell her. You explain risks honestly. You suggest modifications that might make a situation safer. But ultimately, competent adults have the right to make their own choices. Even if we disagree with those choices, our job is to provide information and support, not to make decisions for people. The training program grows rapidly. By spring, we are graduating 2 classes a month, sending skilled volunteers throughout the 3-county area. Other Senior Corps chapters send representatives to observe our methods. And I am invited to speak at conferences about volunteer training and program development. It is satisfying work, but I miss the direct client contact. So I continue taking assignments 1 day a week, keeping my hand skills sharp and my connection to the real purpose of the program. Mrs. Olson, now 84, has become something of a celebrity in her neighborhood. The technology skills she learned with my help have made her the go-to person for seniors struggling with smartphones, tablets, and video calling. She runs informal classes from her living room, patient and encouraging with people who are intimidated by modern devices. You started something, she tells me during one of my regular check-ins. Not just with me, But with this whole community, people are helping each other more, looking out for each other. It is like the old days, when neighborhoods were neighborhoods. Ellen Murphy, approaching 80, has written a memoir about her teaching career. She is using voice recognition software we installed on her computer, dictating chapters while surrounded by the books that chronicle her intellectual life. The memoir will be published by a small press that specializes in educator stories. "I never thought I would be an author at my age," she says, "but you helped me realize that age doesn't disqualify us from new adventures. It just changes the nature of the adventures." Mr. Crawford, now in his 80s, has become a volunteer himself. His recovery from the stroke was more complete than anyone expected, and he is channeling his military leadership experience into coordinating neighborhood emergency preparedness efforts. He is teaching other seniors how to develop disaster plans that account for mobility limitations and medical needs. These success stories multiply throughout the community. Former clients become volunteers. Families who avoided difficult conversations about aging begin planning proactively. Medical professionals start referring patients to our services instead of automatically recommending institutional care. The work has changed the community, but it has changed me more. I wake up every morning with purpose. My days have structure, meaning, connection. The loneliness that nearly overwhelmed me after Martha's death has been replaced by something I never expected to find again: hope. David visits more frequently now, sometimes bringing the grandkids. They are fascinated by the training center, asking questions about the tools and techniques, wanting to help with simple projects. Emma, now 18, and heading to college, volunteers at a youth mentoring program. Michael, 14, spends his summers helping elderly neighbors with yard work and basic maintenance. "You have influenced them more than you know," David tells me. "They see service as normal, as something adults do. That is a gift. Martha would be proud, I think, not just of the work, but of the way it is rippled outward. Touching lives I will never know about. She always said the best teachers are the ones who inspire their students to teach others." 3 years after joining Senior Corps, I receive an unexpected honor. The national organization selects our training program as a model for expansion, and they want me to travel to other cities to help establish similar centers. It is recognition I never sought but deeply appreciate. At the awards ceremony, Linda introduces me to the national director. "Walter is proof that the most valuable volunteers are often the ones who think they have nothing left to offer," she says. "He came to us feeling useless, convinced his productive years were behind him. Now he is one of our most effective advocates for aging in place, and his training methods are being adopted nationwide." The national director shakes my hand warmly. "We have heard remarkable things about your work. Would you consider consulting with us on a permanent basis? We could use your expertise in developing training standards for the entire network." Another opportunity, another chance to expand the impact. I am 76 years old and busier than I have been in decades. My arthritis slows me down sometimes, and I need reading glasses for detailed work. But my mind is sharp, and my skills are still solid. "I would be honored," I tell him. The consulting work takes me to cities across the country: Detroit, Phoenix, Seattle, Miami. Each location presents unique challenges. Urban areas where seniors are isolated in apartment buildings. Rural communities where services are scarce. Regions where language barriers complicate communication. But the solutions are often similar. Train skilled volunteers. Create peer support networks. Develop partnerships with medical professionals and social service agencies. Most importantly, change the conversation about aging from deficit-based thinking to asset-based thinking. Every older adult has something to offer. I tell training groups wherever I go. Our job is to create opportunities for that offering to be shared. The travel is tiring but energizing. I meet remarkable people in every city: retired nurses who teach health management skills, former carpenters who lead home modification workshops, lifelong gardeners who help others create accessible outdoor spaces. Each has a story of transformation, of finding new purpose after traditional careers ended. In Seattle, I meet a retired Boeing engineer who designs adaptive equipment for seniors with disabilities. In Miami, A former restaurant owner teaches cooking classes adapted for people with arthritis and limited mobility. In Detroit, a group of retired auto workers has established a car repair cooperative, specifically for seniors on fixed incomes. These encounters remind me that the need is universal, but so is the human capacity for reinvention. Retirement doesn't have to mean withdrawal from productive life. It can mean freedom to choose work that truly matters. Back home, the training center has evolved into something larger than I originally envisioned. We now offer classes not just for volunteers but for family caregivers, professional service providers, and seniors themselves. The peer support network has grown into a full-fledged community organization with its own board and funding sources. Mrs. Olson, now in her mid-80s, serves on the board as technology coordinator. She has helped establish computer labs in 3 senior centers and trained over 100 people in digital communication skills. Her tablet, the one we struggled to set up together years ago, has become the command center for a volunteer network that spans the entire county. Remember when I couldn't figure out how to turn it on? She laughs during a board meeting. Now I am teaching people to use video conferencing and social media. Life is full of surprises. Ellen Murphy's memoir has become a regional bestseller, inspiring other educators to document their careers. She has established a scholarship fund for first-generation college students and continues tutoring adults who are learning to read. Her house, with its carefully planned accessibility features, hosts monthly gatherings for retired teachers who are looking for ways to stay connected to education. Mr. Crawford, approaching 90 but still sharp and determined, has become the unofficial mayor of his neighborhood. The emergency preparedness program he started has prevented several potential disasters, and his leadership has inspired similar efforts in other communities. He jokes that he is busier in retirement than he ever was in his working years. The secret, he tells me, is understanding that experience is a resource, not a burden. We have seen things, done things, learned things that younger people need to know. Our job is to pass it on. These friends have become my chosen family, replacing the isolation I felt after Martha's death with connections based on shared purpose rather than blood or history. We check on each other, celebrate each other's successes, provide support during difficult times. When Mrs. Olson's grandson graduates from high school, we all attend the ceremony. When Ellen receives a community service award, we are there to cheer. When Mr. Crawford has a minor heart episode, we organize a rotation to help with shopping and transportation until he recovers. This is what community looks like when it works, not just neighbors who wave from across the street, but people who actively care about each other's well-being, who understand that individual success is meaningless without collective support. The 4th anniversary of Martha's death arrives, and I mark it with gratitude rather than grief. I visit her grave, as always. But this time I bring flowers from Ellen's garden and news of all the lives we have touched together. Because it is together Martha's influence shaped who I became, and who I became has shaped this work. I think you would approve, I tell her headstone, not just of what I am doing, but of who I am becoming. Someone who listens more than he speaks. Someone who sees possibilities instead of only problems. Someone who understands that fixing things includes fixing communities, fixing isolation, fixing the assumption that age equals irrelevance. The evening light slants across the cemetery as I prepare to leave. In the distance, I can see the city skyline, including the building that houses our training center. Tomorrow, a new class of volunteers will begin learning skills that will help dozens of older adults maintain their independence and dignity. It is a small thing in the grand scheme of the world's problems. We are not ending wars or curing diseases or solving poverty, but we are proving that every person matters, that experience has value, that communities can choose to support their most vulnerable members instead of abandoning them. And maybe that is enough. Maybe that is everything. Driving home through neighborhoods where our volunteers work every day, I think about legacy again. Not the kind measured in buildings or fortunes or famous achievements, but the kind that lives in changed lives, strengthened communities, and the understanding that service to others is the highest use of whatever time we have. Martha used to say that a life well lived is measured not by what we accumulate, but by what we contribute. I am finally beginning to understand what she meant. The house is quiet when I arrive, but it is a different quiet now. Not empty, but peaceful. Not abandoned, but complete. I have learned to live alone without being lonely, to find meaning in simple things, to create purpose from whatever materials are at hand. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new opportunities to help, new chances to prove that older adults are resources rather than burdens. Mrs. Chen has asked me to look at her neighbor's broken porch railing. A new volunteer needs mentoring on a complex accessibility project. The board wants my input on expanding services to the next county over small things, maybe. But small things, done with skill and compassion and commitment, can change the world one person at a time. And changing the world one person at a time, I have learned, is the only way the world really changes at all. The clock in the hallway chimes 10 times, reminding me that even though my days are full again, my body still needs rest. I turn off the lights, check the locks, and head upstairs to bed. Through the bedroom window, I can see lights in houses throughout the neighborhood, people living their lives, facing their challenges, finding their own ways to matter. Some of them will need help tomorrow, and some of them will be ready to help others. That is how communities work when they work well, and that is what I have learned to be part of again. Not the center of everything, but connected to everything. Not the most important person, but a person who matters. And for an old man who once thought his useful life was over, that is not just enough, it is everything he ever really needed.